right off the get-go.
Right off the get-go. Good evening. Had a little delayed start, no non-public as yet. We're calling the meeting to order at 6:18 of the May 13th Board of Selectmen meeting. Would you please join me in rising to the salute the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll introduce the head table. I'll start with my far right is Pedro Avila, our building inspector, code enforcement officer, Susan Eyre, our administrative assistant to the Board of Selectmen, Peter Bakey, select board member, Chuck Hart, select board member. I'm your chairman, Ellie Alessio, vice chairman, Glenn Koppelman to my left, another board member. We might take a couple things out of order this evening. We did not have a non-public. We will save that for later in the evening when our fifth board member is able to attend. We're going to start with Mr. Avila to review the building and code proposed updates to the fee schedule.
Hi, good afternoon, members of the board. So I wanted to first start by thanking you for taking the time to review these fees. The reason why they came to be reviewed is that after a thorough analysis of the department and how we were assessing the costs.
Please, if we can hear this hall, it's got tall ceilings, we can hear everything in the back room. Go ahead, Pedro, thank you.
So, and after assessing the cost of our daily tasks and the procedures of the department, I have seen that there is
yeah. Okay, Pedro, go ahead.
Thank you. So, well, to start from the get-go, after doing a thorough analysis of the procedures in place to operate the department and current cost managing the department and working with the other inspectors with regards to the cost that we're charging for development or work done within the town of Kingston, I have reached a conclusion that we are under. Therefore, the town is kind of taking in the back an added cost that does not add up to the job that the inspectors are doing on the side. And with that in mind, I did a revision of the schedule of fees. I also review other towns and compare it to make sure that we were not surpassing surrounding towns at least. And that I was able to manage, with the exception of Brentwood, which kind of have the same schedule of fees that we currently have. So I break down all the fees based on the work that take place in the town. Yep. And there were fees for works that were taking place in town that were not assessed. It was kind of giving a number. The problem with giving that number is that the amount of inspections, in contrast with the fee being charged, was lower than what the inspector is charging the town to go and perform those inspections. And that is basic reason why these were all reviewed, especially adopting the application fee, that we didn't have an application fee. The application fee actually serves as a means to do a plan review for all the projects that we come in contact with. It's mostly administrative, and it will help to balance out the cost that the town incurs with its inspectors to do the job that they need to do out there and while they're here in the office.
Were you just referring at that time, Pedro, to the application fee?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Is there a reason why you didn't round it up or down? So, what's the purpose for the 50 cents?
Yes, so it's so that we can keep competitive to other towns, and at the same time, we can manage to reach the level of cost that we're incurring within the town to get our inspectors in track to the job that they are doing.
Okay.
So more consistency with surrounding communities, in fact.
Yes, yes.
On the application fees, like for the one-time fees, like a bath remodel, just looking at that page, it's $100 for the permit, right, which is a one-time thing, and you're also going to charge them $75 for an application.
Yes,
So that's $175 for using that as an example of bathroom permit.
That is
personally
correct.
think that's a little bit too much for one visit to go out there to do. If we're covering for $100, now you're going to have them come in and fill out this, and I'm assuming it's the same application that anybody uses, this lengthy application to do, you know, a water heater, for instance. An inspection for a water heater for $75. Now you want to charge them another $75.
Yes.
Hang on, wait a second. So I'm looking at this a little differently. So where you're looking at is $100 for a current fee. That's not what he's proposing. What his proposed fee is $4.25 per 1,000. So for $1,000, it'd be $4.25 plus $67.50.
Right.
That's what he's saying. You're looking at two different things here.
I'm just looking at
No,
the,
he's
See
actually,
what's his current fee?
yeah,
She-
it
Now
says
it's his proposed fee to the right of it.
I don't have any proposed fee on the right of that.
Proposed fee.
Yeah, the 75,
That's the proposed fee.
oh, all right.
So
But
we
it's
have
still-
current, and then you have proposed.
Right, so you
So it's
still
different.
got,
So $4.25 per 1,000. So if it's a $1,000 bill, it'd be $4.25 plus $67.50
For the application.
plus the application fee.
Right.
well, this, okay, I guess,
That's what it's saying.
well, it's saying $75.50 plus an application fee. It doesn't say per thousand or per whatever on this.
because you're
particular-
looking at the plumbing, gas, and mechanical schedule area. And I got input from Dave Fields, our plumbing inspector, and for example, for the gas heater application that you mentioned, it's not one trip to go and check the gas heater being installed. He has to go and do the existing tank removal, which is charged to the town at a $50 rate, and then he has to come back, do an inspection for connection, which is another $50 cost to the town, and then there is a final inspection. So that simple project of a tank replacement cost the town $150, and we are charging only $75.
So the proposal you're making is to make, first of all, make us competitive with other communities.
Yes.
But also to make sure that our real costs are
Being
covered.
covered.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is correct. That
And
way
I
the
think that's
town-
really the message here.
Yes, yeah, we actually, that's the whole intent to that, so that we can cover the town real costs, because at the time, the town cost every time we get these inspections done.
Yep.
And for new construction, it's even larger. As an example, I saw a couple of the timesheets of the inspectors, and they are 4-5 visits to sites where we are charging $100 for an application fee, and they are charging out $250. Therefore, that ratio, where we have the ratio, covers that excess amount, making the town going even. And it's not that we are adding, don't see it as an addition to, or a burden to be carried. We are becoming equal with the trends of nowadays cost, because not only we have seen a large amount of projects being done without permits, we also have seen complaints from individuals that they claim the contractor started the job, never finished it. So we need to make sure that we're providing a better service to the general public. And we are not adding the cost. That, anyways, that cost is being transferred in the initial bill negotiated between the resident and the contractor. We're just trying to make sure that we're doing every little piece of work that we need to do, protecting our residents while they are being contracted other individuals.
With regard to projects already in process, these fees would not be applied.
No, they will not apply. Only from the date of adoption forward is when those fees are going to be applicable for new projects.
But if someone already is operating under an existing permit, that would continue.
That will continue. As a matter of fact, all the existing permit and what we will do is to give some sort of time frame to allow any application that is in the process of being delivered to the town, make it to the town, at least give like a 30 days grace period, so that those applications can be assessed under the last, and we can give time for the people to get acquainted with the new fee schedule, and they can understand what is the intent.
This issue, that question came up at the planning board meeting last Tuesday night, and one of the concerns was the 125 project. They've done, I believe, a number of permits have been issued. Is that correct on the?
Well, there shouldn't be any permits issued yet because they haven't met all the conditions of approval, I believe.
Who's that?
Distribution
The
center?
distribution
Okay,
center.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just-
266 and
I just heard
125.
125, I didn't hear
Yeah,
125.
sorry, that's okay.
And I believe that is the large building coming to town.
Yep.
So the thing with this is that project will actually have a negative impact to the town if not assessed correctly, because it's first a large project, a project that will require special inspections, and a project that will require a very on-site review and oversight of what's going on, so that we make sure that everything is done according to the state mandated code.
If they already had a permit and they were operating to it, I'd say that we'd be obliged to follow it. But if they haven't, I mean, the project hasn't begun, and I don't believe permits have been applied for, have they, Pedro?
Nothing yet, no.
So, but I would assume that some of their costs are based on the current fee schedule. Is that correct?
No.
No? Okay, all right,
Yeah.
again, I
Yeah.
was there last week, and that was the question
No,
asked,
and
and I
that-
said,
and that's
gee, if they
okay.
get permits already, I don't see a problem, but.
Yeah, and
if
as a
there's
matter of
no
fact, that was
permits-
one of the key aspects that prompted me to start seeing the department in the financial sense of it, what is actually making sense for the town, the building department, to be able to provide the services that we provide, and that it is not a translated cost from the town
Right.
to the amount of work that we have to do.
Got a couple
Sure.
questions. Pedro, looking at your sheets here, just kind of curious, for instance, on the temporary structure, for an example, you state it pretty clearly that it's valid for 180 days, that you can have that temporary structure.
Yes.
But if we jump up to the travel trail occupied, I believe we have a town code of how long that can be occupied, but that's not listed on that sheet.
No, because that is open review, that is part of the review, and once we do the review, we charge the fee, and then we assess whatever time management has to be assessed through the zoning ordinance of how much time they can operate in the manner that they want to operate.
Okay, and under the plumbing, we see bath remodel, kitchen remodel, water heater, and septic systems. How about new construction, like somebody wants to build a house in town, what's the permit cost?
So for new construction, it will be just the 425 plus per thousand plus the 6750.
So that would include the plumbing permit and
Yeah.
electrical?
Yep.
Thank you.
Some of the increases, 350 to 425 or 450, seems to be reasonable. There's some fees that are 350 currently and going to 575.
Which one?
Repair stairs and porch, for an example. That's, and obviously you have a reason why, but that seems to be a big jump.
Yes, and the reason why they have incurred into that big jump is, number one, there is no notion of the importance that are this accessory structure, and it has been established that you will hold more people gathered within an accessory structure than what you will hold them gathered in your living room. So what I have seen is a large amount of application that does not comply with the building code, and there is a non-understanding. So for something that can be reviewed and inspected in a week's period, it's taking 3, 4, 5 weeks being able to explain that. Plus, the code requires now that people have an understanding of what is a tributary area, which is not a very common known term or method of calculating dead load. And it's a lot of time that the town invests into educating the general public that come to us so that they can understand what we're looking for in order to be able to transfer load correctly. Second, the reason why these changes took place in the code was because of failure of decks throughout the nation that impacted lives. So we want to make sure that everybody that is doing any type of work in town have a safe structure that safeguard the life of those coming in contact with the structure.
Further comment? So what's your pleasure regarding a hearing?
I would, first of all, want to thank Pedro for the
Yes.
thoroughness of this and for
Absolutely.
watching out for the town's fiscal interest in making sure that our costs get covered. So I think that's a good thing.
Yes.
And our next step would be to bring this to public hearing, and I'll make a motion that we do that. Susan, what would be a good meeting for that, do you think?
Date-wise?
Date? Can we do it our first, because in June we start our every other week schedule. So could we do it on June 3rd? Then that's
Okay.
my proposal.
And do I have a second on that? Okay.
Oh, we probably should list the time.
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock?
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor of scheduling the meeting for June 3rd at 7 o'clock, the public hearing on the fee schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and the hearing will go forward on that date. Thank you very much, Pedro. It's very, very thorough, and we appreciate that. Okay, item next. Mrs. Bakey, tax deeding for lots 20 and 35 at Hawks Ridge. Hi.
I understand that the select board will be signing the warrant tonight.
Yep.
So I would like to take the opportunity to remind the board that any insert related to municipal business has to be voted on by the board, and it can only be one piece of paper. It can be double-sided, but only one piece of paper, because I have a machine that will insert and fold and stuff that one piece of paper.
Okay, normally we have the highway department, we don't have anything else in the, do we?
I've heard rumors that there is another department that wants to insert something, so just want to.
Okay, we have not seen anything. Susan?
Perfect.
You haven't got anything to pass on to us? Okay,
It has to be voted on by you, though,
okay,
okay?
yep,
I have another issue that's come up that I would like some guidance on. I think probably we'll need some guidance from our attorney. We have two pieces of property that are up for deeding. They are owned by an LLC. The LLC is not in good standing. The agent member has passed away. I always have to send certified notices out. They come back to me. I usually will send an officer out to serve so that I make sure that they get the notice of the impending deed. But I can't send them out because there's no one to send them out to. So I guess I'm looking for permission to talk with the attorney about how to proceed.
okay. The LLC is no longer in existence, or there's no officer?
It's not in good standing. If you look it up with the Secretary of State, it's not in good standing, and there's no other name listed on that LLC
Okay.
except the one person who has passed away.
Okay,
Have you talked to the daughter and or the wife?
I have talked to the wife.
because they're running the golf course part of it, so I don't know if they were still involved with this part of it. I take it they are not.
They are, I've talked to the wife, but she doesn't own the property. She doesn't,
The LLC does, and
yeah.
Yeah, and she has no idea of who's a part of the LLC besides her husband?
There's only one
Only
person
one name
listed on
listed.
that LLC.
Right, and that person is deceased.
No, yeah.
you definitely have to seek
I-
counsel.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that, I mean, this has to be done right, and council should be the place we go.
Appropriate place to go, yes.
That's it.
So
So we should
let the
probably do
record
that by
show that we're
motion.
directing, okay, let's do a motion, go ahead.
Motion to
Authorize.
give permission and authorize town clerk, tax collector to seek guidance from town council regarding tax deeding, and I'm assuming it's the lots 20 and 35
Correct.
at Hawks Ridge.
Yep.
Okay, in a second? Okay, further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mrs. Bakey. We'll be talking more. Okay, item next is Hawks Ridge Residential Village Association, tax deeding, Tony Veligori. Is that the correct pronunciation of your name? Veligor, okay. Come on down, have a seat, state your name for the record and your address, please.
Tony Veligor, 25 Bentgrass Circle.
Put the mic on.
You put your microphone. Yep,
Tony Veligor, 25 Bentgrass Circle.
thank you.
Thank you for letting me come before the board this evening. I'm here to discuss the lots 20 and 35 regarding Hawks Ridge LLC. When we found out that there was the possibility that the town would be taking them over for back taxes, I wanted to come in and explain to you our feelings, our situation, and our requests on it. The Lot 20 is the building lot that has been moved around for a number of years. And Lot 35 is the lot that is designated for our future clubhouse. We have been after Hawks Ridge for well over 3 years now to transfer Lot 35 over to us so he could utilize it without success. If he had transferred it over to us, the taxes would have been absorbed and our association fees and taxes would have been paid up to date. However, they are requesting that we pay all the back taxes before they will turn that lot over to us. Hawks Ridge.
Hawks Ridge.
Hawks Ridge LLC. And I was coming here tonight to ask that you do not vote to take the lots over because we are still trying to negotiate with their representative to have them transfer those lots over to us and we can utilize them.
Who is their representative?
Yeah,
Yeah, his son Corey DeFresney.
okay, because obviously our town.
I'm sorry?
Obviously, our town clerk doesn't know that, because she's been trying to get a hold of him, and
Right.
there's no connection, but you guys seem to have a connection, so you might want to pass that on, so.
I think you heard the legal situation they're in, that nobody's listed as,
I just heard that this evening, but I just found out about her coming to this board tonight, last Friday, I think, when I talked to Susan. So I was not aware that the town was ready to take over the lots. I wanted to come down and try to work out, and hopefully you will work with us so that we can gain access to those lots and talk about some of the other unfinished issues in our development.
Does young Mr. Corey have legal authorization to act on behalf of LLC?
Over the course of the winter, Corey and I were talking. Those talks broke down. It's now our attorneys are talking. So the attorneys are aware of what we are looking for. They made a proposal. We came back with a clarification question regarding their proposal to turn them over to us. And we're waiting for that clarification before we, as the association, decide to absorb taxes or do something else in order to gain control of those lots.
don't think we can do anything till we hear from council.
Right, but yeah, we won't be doing
we
anything
can't do
until we
anything.
hear from council at this point.
From what, yeah.
Right.
But in the interim, if you have any of this information with Corey's lawyers or whoever they are, you might want to pass that on.
Yeah, but the biggest issue is whether he has the legal authority to act on behalf.
Okay,
correct.
Of the
Well, that's what
LLC.
we-
Right, that's what we need to find out first of all, before anything else.
Before you take any action?
Correct.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So, did you want to add anything else?
No, I mean, so at this point, nothing will happen until that's resolved.
That's correct. Yes.
Nothing will happen.
Yes, and hopefully we'll keep the lines of communication open. The town's interest is getting reimbursed for back taxes.
Of course,
That's the purpose. And so,
I think at least we could do as a board is if we hear something from the attorney, and we have some notion of what's going to happen, we can reach out, I think it would be right to the
Correct.
association and
Okay.
let you know what we found. Nothing's going to happen, I think, and we'll keep that open line of communication with you,
That would be great.
just so you know what's going on. I mean, it's not like we're going to have a meeting and just liquidate it, you know, we'll call you and let you know what's going on when we hear from the attorney.
Okay,
Susan, do you have contact information from it? Okay, very good.
all right.
We'll do our best to keep everything. Yes, ma'am, did you want to add something?
Come,
You have to come down.
Yeah, come on down.
Come on down. This is like The Price is Right. But more interesting. Please, bring the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Renee Speidel. I'm at 8 Mulligan Way. I just wanted to point out one small detail that might be missing, in that in our bylaws and our condo docs, Lot 35 in particular is designated specifically in the documents as part of our association common land. It states in there what can be done with it, how it can be used, but it is specifically called out as part of the property of our common land. So to pull it out as a separate entity, I'm not sure how that works.
It's called taxes due.
Yeah, I
And so,
understand that.
Until we get that clarified, nothing, no other action can be taken until we have council clarify
Okay,
the situation.
because it's part of our overall
I know,
land unit and in our bylaws. So that just needs to be put into
We've heard about Hawks
consideration.
Ridge at the zoning board, at the planning board, at the zoning board, at
Yeah,
the
it's a
planning
mess.
board.
It's a mess, and
been a
we've
mess
had to
from day
deal with
one,
it for
so-
years. So-
We're very empathetic to the situation.
Okay, well, anything you can do to help us would be greatly
We
appreciated.
want this done, so if, hopefully collectively, we can come up with the solutions.
Correct.
Correct.
That's exactly what we'd like to see.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon, I hope. Thank you. Let's see, next item is Ernie Landry. You're welcome to stay or go. I'll give you a couple minutes to vacate if you want to.
So if he has all this information, about this guy Corey,
We're not even sure that he's legally represented. We can't do that, right. Good evening, Mr. Landry. How are you tonight?
Doing well. Wanted to chat a little bit about moose plates.
Okay, give him a minute, let him get out the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
Chat a
evening.
Chat a little bit about moose plate grants.
Okay,
This is open period for moose plate grants right now. They began accepting, or they accepted applications letters of intent up until May 2nd, and now applications are due by June 21st. And the thought that I had has to do with the stairs, the front stairs. We have been, you, I guess, have been talking about repairs to the front stairs and talked about potentially having that completed this year using ARPA funds. But I had a thought that if you were not sure that this was going to be done this year, it might be an option to go in for a moose plate grant for that purpose. This was more or less putting in a placeholder in case something happened as far as the completion of the stairs by this year. Moose plate grant would only be eligible for use next year for any town projects. But after talking to Glenn and Laurie and Phil, the thought was, just why don't we just put it in for a short period at the letter of intent, let the town think this through to make sure that the stairs will be done this year, and then if they are, then just forget about a moose plate grant. But also then, if we did put the letter of intent in, we would have the opportunity to go in with an application for a moose plate grant if plans happen to change. We'd have to go in by, as I say, by June 21st. So that was, we put in a placeholder just in case you thought it would be a good idea to do something with it.
But there's no guarantee that we'd get the grant.
There is no guarantee, correct.
And submittal of the letter of intent was a pretty low effort, if you will, as Ernie said, to just hold the place until he had a chance to address the board here.
And I think it probably doesn't hurt to do the application and have it in there for the grant. Hopefully, this year. Design, and then it's going to go to bid. So I don't see it running too far into next year.
Okay, well, if that's the case.
But if something happens, the grant's out there, or the application for it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but there's no guarantee that it will come, and I know that Ernie's concern is, and rightfully so, that, you know, putting a letter of intent together is one thing, but doing an application is a substantial amount of work. And if our intent really is to do that, to do this project this year, you know, do we really want? I mean, I think Ernie's willing to do it, but is it really the right thing to do?
And I'd hate
That's
to
your
put
question, right, Ernie?
Pardon me?
That's your question.
Yes.
For us.
I would hate to put in an application if we were going to have it done this year and have DHR go through all of the process of looking through it and all, and then dedicate some money to this project where they could have dedicated it to a project that would actually be completed next year.
Yeah. I personally am not willing to take a chance that we won't get it. I'd like to see the stairs done. This has been 4 years of living with the wood out front, so I would prefer not to. I would rather you apply for a grant for something else, or maybe that L-shaped piece of the barn that doesn't work, or something, then, or doesn't fit in, I should say, something doesn't work.
And I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay,
As I say,
I
this is just a
appreciate you
placeholder
doing
in
that.
case. I have no real desire to
Okay,
do
it's up to the board, it's not
something.
my decision, but I personally would prefer to move forward now and get the stairs done.
I guess my thought would be the same, Ernie. It's very nice of you to willing to put the time in, but maybe direct that to something different, just in case if we put this off to next year and then we don't get the grant. Now we're kind of back where we are right now.
Well, worse, because we won't have the money, because we have to have our,
That's what I'm saying. So it's
Allocated now.
it's almost
This
like
year.
a gamble on it, and we're trying to get that done.
yeah,
But maybe something else could be used for that grant for.
yeah.
And the maximum that can be applied for is?
Well, the maximum is 20,000. Right. Of course, then again, I mean, there's not
not gonna be the whole
not
thing,
a guarantee that you're going to get that kind of money. So.
And that's not even I don't think it's the full amount either.
Well, it's certainly not the full amount for the project.
Right.
And as Ernie said, when the state Department of Historic Resources issues the awards, they don't necessarily award. You might request 20, but you might not. Even if you got an award, you might get less than that.
Oh, okay.
So they have the discretion to move the dollars around.
Gentlemen? Thank you very much.
Well,
I'm not sure where to go.
well, I mean, I certainly appreciate the offer that Ernie has made.
Absolutely.
I think
There's
we
no
all
question,
do.
yes.
And Ernie had spoken to me, as he indicated, a week or so ago, just sort of bouncing it off me, well, because he was wondering whether he should even go to the effort of doing a letter of intent. And I said, well, if it's not too heavy a lift, yes, and then come in and talk to the board, and we'll see where we go from there. But, I mean, I think that at least our discussions at this point have been sort of to move that front stairs project, move it along quickly if we can.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
Thank you very much, though, really, for all your efforts, not only of this project, but others that you do for the town.
Oh, thank you
We
for your
really
decision.
appreciate it.
That's one less
But it was a
project.
great thought, but maybe the barn could get some help, you know?
well, the barn's getting there. It's
Right.
It's being fixed, so
Okay.
it's all good.
Okay, very good.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Ernie.
Thank you, Ernie. One less thing off your plate.
But we'll find something else for you to do, don't you worry. I said, we'll find something else for you to do, don't you worry. If you won't, Rick will do it.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment number 1. Is there any public comment at this time? No. Then how about committee liaison reports? Mr. Bakey, anything this week? Mr. Hart? He's got a list.
Well, I do have one list. Budget committee, obviously, there's nothing there. I don't have anything for Tammy or for Graham. However, conservation met Thursday, and they have 4 new, which hopefully they're in the file, but 4 new interested people, and they were advised to, you know, submit their letters so we can sign on it. There's an opening for 2 full-time positions and 2 alternates, so hopefully they've sent it in. What else was there? Plant sale, which they were talking about, I guess they help out with the library, which is this Saturday. The other thing they were talking about, which is relevant to everything here, is the ability to communicate some of the things that they have going on, as do we with the town, and I've explained to them now with the Facebook on the website and the TV and all that, but the thought came up is to, and I know it's gonna, if we had a sign, a portable electronic sign, set up somewhere on a time where it has the ability to list 4 or 5 different things that are going on for everybody, not just conservation, for the town. There was some talk about being able to use the new sign that's up if there's something going on there, the new lake sign. But anyway, it was a conversation and a thought of having a general sign, whether it was in front of the fire station or here, that would be portable, so you could take it in and out. But I said the big battle is the fact is having a portable electronic sign in town.
Did they talk to the historic district at all?
Probably not.
Yeah,
But, anyway,
No.
what else was there? And the trails people, I guess there's been a lot of winter damage on the trails with the trees down and stuff, and now that they're able to get in there, they're really starting to go on that. Other than that, that was it.
Did they talk about the fire plan and what they're gonna?
Yeah, the trails fellow is meeting with Graham. They do have an appointment set up.
Great.
How much they're gonna look at or what they're gonna do, but,
Okay, as long
but
as
that
it's-
is on the top of the list for that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any questions for Chuck? I did attend a planning board meeting last week, and there were a few questions, things that came up that you might be interested in. The Millbrook campground, now called Golden Acres, I believe it is. Remember they had talked about a food truck, and we weren't sure whether they were gonna have multiples, and they said in season, and what they're talking about is 1 food truck for their season, which goes from, let's see, May to October. And only 1 is planned at this time. There are new owners. They meet all the requirements of our regulations, for both of the campground and the food truck. And so that seems to be moving forward with the planning board. The second item was Mr. Bresnahan was there again to talk about the trees that haven't been planted for the last 5.5 years. And he raised the issue that because of the growth over the last 5-6 years, there's going to be a racetrack with a tractor that's gonna go around the perimeter of the property in order to cut and then plant. That didn't go over too well at the planning board, and so the town forester, or the person that was used the last time to review the property and see what needed to be done to repair and replace the vegetation, would do another site walk to figure out what Mr. Bresner had meant by the racetrack around the property. So that's ongoing right now. He does have a $75,000 cash bond on file with the town, so there is funds to do it. He made reference to an offer to the town to do the planting ourselves.
He did.
But yeah,
He's gonna give us 50 grand to go plant the trees ourselves.
okay, well,
I mean, that's
no one seems to be taking that up and that opportunity.
No.
No.
It's his responsibility, it was part of his site plan approval, he just needs to do it.
Exactly.
But we didn't do any kind of a cease and desist for it, right?
No, we haven't.
We did not.
No, but,
Oh, we could do one now, I presume.
well, if
I mean,
he's.
we're gonna wait
if he's-
another 6 months for whatever he's gonna
I
do
don't know if
now,
we're gonna
and
wait 6 months, but he was there in person at the meeting last Tuesday, and right now we're gonna have someone go and look at the property, see what needs to be done.
The forester who did the initial review was, I believe, it was the county forester out of
Correct.
Brentwood from the
That's
Extension Service.
correct.
I think Mr. Jordan is his name.
Don't remember the
Charlie
name.
Jordan, I think. Anyway, so if it's the same person, then he'll be familiar with the property.
And Glenn Greenwood was gonna reach out to him to contact him to come in and take a look at the property.
Okay.
The third item was a discussion on the ECSI property on 125. It seems that they're storing trucks there. It's supposed to be empty.
where is this now?
On 125, it used to be,
That's what I brought up at the last meeting.
Right.
So it's a company out of Mass, I believe, that's a paving company,
yeah,
and they've actually registered multiple, like 20 vehicles to that property.
Where's the property? I don't know what we're talking about.
It's the old waterworks, right? The old,
across from the, is it across from the dam?
Reynolds.
I can
it's
see
off
it in
from
my,
Reynolds. It's a small building with a
From
parking lot
Reynolds.
down back.
Years ago, Chuck, it used to be the Board of Realtors building. It's a small ranch-type building. It's right on the water, and the property drops back,
Drops
and it goes to
back.
Is
the,
that
goes
where the
in.
environmental house is?
Exactly.
yes, that's
That's
it.
the property.
That's it.
Storing trucks behind it?
And that was the subject of one of the very few that the town has ever done, a revocation of the site plan to shut it down and get it cleaned up. But there isn't supposed to be anything happening there, and Peter was bringing up to the board that there's stuff happening there.
Right, and there's no site plan or anything. There's no site plan on file at this point for that property.
Well, no.
And they've registered multiple vehicles. Did that? No, it's not, but so something that's not
Yeah,
supposed to be
but-
there.
So is that something that,
We should
obviously, the planning board
direct,
should be notifying Pedro, I would assume?
yeah,
however that
or
works,
we
I don't
should be notifying Fade to take a look at it.
All right, well, should we?
Yes, please. Yep.
But
And,
this-
and
I'm sorry, what's the address?
I don't have the address here,
I know which one it is.
but it's
I'll get it.
ECSI property.
Should we be technically doing some kind of a memo to Pedro that we've put down the road? We need to cover ourselves rather than keep talking to him or we wait.
So we could have Susan do a letter?
Just a memo, just to
memo.
say that the board
Yes.
would like, Pedro to take, and I'm,
Tammy can get that address. Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Just, so it's official, just 2 sentences exactly, that we want you to, look back and,
The planning board has referred the property as a problem with no site plan and activity. They're storing trucks on the property, and there should be no activity on the property.
right, that's right on the water on the backside there, too.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as leakage and stuff.
Glenn Greenwood would be another source, or reference, if you needed some backup or assistance, because he's been involved in that right from the get-go.
Yeah, well, Pedro can contact him afterwards, but if we direct him to please, assess the situation, that'd be great. Okay, and Mr. Koppelman, any reports from you at this time?
Not too much. Let's see. I mentioned at the last meeting that we've engaged an attorney to help us with the double poles issue, the double utility poles. There's been communication now back and forth between Director of Public Works and the attorney, and so that's in process and underway. Nothing new on the water utility issue. I think I mentioned at the last meeting that the article that authorized the expenditure of money to purchase a site for a potential water source has expired, and so if we want to renew that, we have to put it back on the warrant for next year. And I know Susan's now keeping track of possible warrant articles for next year, so keeping a running list, and that should be on that list.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to let the board know about, and there's really nothing to discuss at this time, but one of the projects that I took on was looking into the possibility of developing a volunteer memorial. And I've talked to Phil a little bit about it, and I've actually spoken with the superintendent of schools, because I'm thinking that there might be a way to engage students in the project.
Oh, good.
And maybe get a little bit of activity from them. It's a project, you know, honoring volunteers, and this might be a way to bring some young people into the mix, maybe as volunteers at some point. So, so more to come on that, but the process has started.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else in committee liaisons? No. All right, item next, old unfinished business. Review of SMP Architects proposals, Phase 1 and Phase 2 for Town Hall. And Mrs. Mahoney, would you come forward? I know you had you review the contracts per our policy.
I printed the email too. I just got that today because I had asked Phil. I didn't see anything. So there's an email in there with Paula's recommendations and also what Phil responded.
Good evening, Ms. Paula.
So I think you guys all got my email last week, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Phil did send at 4 o'clock, I got an email from him today that he spoke with SMP. So just to go back on the.
Let's take one at a time.
On the, we'll do the shakes and shingles. So on the shakes to shingles quote, what I found was the first, actually the first sentence, it says after the roof is replaced, that they'll do this closed cell foam. So my question was, one, I didn't know we were replacing the roof, so.
Nobody did, I guess.
No.
So, and if we are, if, let's say it took 3 years for us to replace the roof, will this price still be valid? So that's a question.
Why is the roof even on there?
I don't know. So that was just one thing I thought we should ask the company.
Okay.
The other thing is that it's over 25,000, so we should be getting an RFP, preparing an RFP and getting closed bids.
And this is for which building?
The town hall here,
town
it's the
hall.
insulation.
It's
So
for the insulation.
they separated parts of the attic here.
Gotcha, right.
And
okay,
that's what
I'm
this
with
is, and then the stairwells and the stage.
And I think Phil's tried to get a hold of them, right, and they haven't called back.
Yeah,
from what I
according to
saw.
what Phil said, I'm still nailing down, I think he misspelled because he wrote until.
It's Unitil.
Oh, on their portion of the shakes to shingles proposal, but it didn't answer
It doesn't answer the question
the
about the roof.
Yeah,
But
Well,
it does.
that and or to go to bid.
But in my mind, it does sort of answer partly the question about the bid level. Well, first of all, I mean, I believe that our policy does give us some discretion in special circumstances. But because Unitil is going to be providing a rebate on this work, it'll easily bring that number down to below that $25,000 threshold. So
So I didn't even know Unitil was doing that, because that's not on here, but,
well, it's not on there because Phil didn't, at this point, didn't know how much it was going to be.
so is this the total, and then Unitil would take some of it?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have anything from Unitil in writing?
Some of it, that's why I didn't even ask
By word of
that.
mouth?
Phil's working on that.
Maybe we should get that information before we sign anything.
Oh, yes. Oh,
That's
yes.
why I didn't
That's-
even know
that's-
that was
yeah.
part of it, so I didn't even know to ask that.
Right. Plus, the question about the roof and the prior, you know, the sequence of things, we don't know about that yet, so.
Okay, so the answer is no, we're not signing shakes to shingles until
I would hold off on it.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
till we have more information.
Yep.
Okay, item next.
Then there's two SMP,
Correct. Phase 1 and Phase 2.
yeah, proposals.
Yeah,
Those are the architect proposals, for, one, the stairs, they
Yeah.
split the town hall. So they put the stairs, and then they did the assessment of what we want in the town hall is the second phase.
correct.
I had the same questions, went for both, because it was the same kind of thing. But on phase 1 for the stairs, it specifically says that the structural engineer requested that we get a licensed geotechnical engineer to prepare a report, and there's no pricing on that. So we should find out how much that,
Phil's in that.
well, I'm just going over what I asked for first. And then on page 3, it listed the same exact plus one thing on one of them, additional work not included in this proposal. But in my eyes, reading it, we should find out which things we would possibly need and how much it could cost, because I don't know how much
Because it
engineers
adds on.
cost.
You know, we got to get moving on this. We can't, you know, my opinion, we can't be waiting 2 or 3
I
more weeks.
understand, but you gotta protect the town.
I understand that, and if I were to tell you, the only one that's on there that is probably going to happen, as they refer to it, is the geotech consultant. We
No,
won't
I
need
know.
hazardous material.
I'm
we
going
won't-
over what I had asked first.
Let's let her finish.
Okay.
So those are the questions I was worried about. And then reading the fine, I'm calling it the fine print, but the standard terms and agreement.
Yep,
They listed hourly rates, so I just wanted to know, and this is something we should be asking ourselves, is the amount that they gave us, is that our price, or could we fall into this additional hourly rate for whatever? So those are the questions I asked, and, oh, here it is. And Phil's response was, and I honestly think we should get this in some kind of form in writing from S&P, so we have it in their words, that this is how much their engineer would cost. But he spoke with S&P this morning. The geotechnical engineer will be approximately $3,000 if we do the test pits with DPW forces. I don't know what that really means. They prefer to have an independent.
What it means
Hold on.
is the digging
Okay,
out there.
if we did the
would
digging.
be our staff and equipment.
Okay.
Yep.
They prefer to have an independent expert represent the town on the soils. If borings are required, that will be more. Based solely on what we spent for the Main Street Bridge borings, worst case, it would be $7,000, but unlikely that will be needed. That is the only work not included that is likely to be on us. The rest is things that could potentially be needed, archaeological studies, hazmat, etc. One was landscaping, one was furniture, but are not likely. The compensation in the terms and condition is their rates that should something not be provided or expect to become an issue, we know in advance what their rates are. I feel that the proposal is complete and inclusive for this project as proposed. That's
for
what,
phase 1, according to Phil.
that, he didn't say phase 1 or phase 2, that's just what he wrote.
So
He
that's-
wasn't,
Yeah, it's relevant to phase 1.
Well, it's pertinent to phase 1, and I think that's what he was responding to.
yeah, but my original email was for both phases, because it was the same questions.
Right.
So I just think we should have something in, I don't know, it's up to you guys, but I think we should have something in writing from S&P with their fee, like what these fees would be, not just an estimate on what we've spent in the past. Because we don't want to get stuck with like an additional $10,000.
Well, it looks like we got $10,000 more already, because if you need
Just based on these estimates, yeah.
on those two things, because you got $3,000 for the geotech, and then you have $7,000 for the borings.
Yep. But again, what if the geotech doesn't want us to do the digging? I'm just like coming up with these.
Right, I understand,
So we just need to get just a better answer, I think, before.
I mean, the bottom line is, we've got to fix the front steps. So if it ends up, I mean, we need it in writing, if it ends up $10,000 more, for the sake of conversation, it is what it is.
This is just for the architect and the
Right,
prefab.
yeah, but.
So I'm just.
I think it's just, at this point, it's a matter of us knowing what the dollars are that we're committing, that's all. I don't have an issue with us committing the dollars and getting the project done. I think we just need to know what those dollars are. And,
and then that's why we have Paula review it.
And, right, and, you know, I'm reading what Phil responded to, but it, as Paula said, it would be appropriate, I think, to have that information from the architect.
Or the,
Or
the engineer, the
Well, they don't have an.
TF Moran. They have a structural engineer, that's part of the quote. So it's S&P and TF Moran that are doing this together, and TF Moran is the one that said we should get the geotechnical.
But you probably, pricing-wise, you'd have to run it through S&P.
Yep.
Because I'm sure they're.
Yeah, they're the head person.
Everybody's making a buck on that, so.
Yep.
Okay, so, your pleasure.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the contract as written as we have it, with the fact that we want to get further information on what their hourly rates are and if S&P will put this information that Phil has in writing. Because if we get something and we don't like it, we just won't do it. But I can't, I'm trying to think back to the firehouse when we went through the same thing, and they did list, you know, like secretary is $100 an hour and assistant is $150, if in fact you need those people, which is what you're looking for, right?
But this isn't that big a project
I
either.
understand, but I'm just saying that's, surprisingly they didn't list it there, but I'm assuming they don't anticipate any of that kind of
No, they
extra
don't,
stuff.
and I wasn't really worried about the hour, I just had that question when I was first reading it, but what I think we should get more information on is what the fee would be and have it in writing if we were to have the geotechnical engineer and what was it?
The borings.
The borings, and how much that
Okay.
it would be costing, not just like an estimate on what we spent in the past.
See if you can get that this week so we could sign off on it and get it started, please. Thank you.
So I have a motion now.
And there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Well, I'm thinking I'm thinking it's just a bit premature. I'd rather have that information before we take that vote.
Withdraw the motion, provide those two pieces that we can add on here so we can have a complete contract. Please. Thank you. Now, on phase 2, building conditions, assessment and space needs, master plan.
I had the same questions as the first one, so
We need to have those spelled out too, so that you don't have.
Yeah, this one was a little different. This one has a different engineer included, and they don't require like a extra engineer or anything, but they put those same work not included in this proposal, so that's why I asked the same questions. But they said that, to me, it's just a general thing that they put this stuff, it's all the same for like every project, so.
Okay. So if we get clarification on that, then we're good to go. Thank you.
Going off of that, I would just wanted to let the board know that as I was going through this, we have not only our purchasing policy, but we have a contract policy, a policy on how contracts, so my new project I'm gonna give myself, but I'm gonna have it for the end of June, only because, one, we're going to every 2 weeks, and two, I have the audit coming, so I need my time to do it. But I wanna update that a bit to make it more clear, because it's really just like a half a page right now. So I want it to be more steps on, if you have this situation, this is what we should do, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be working on that.
And I'm gonna concur with that. If a contract needs to go for review through you and/or council, depending on the intensity of the contract, if you will, we may want to give a preliminary contract for review to the board members, just for their own personal
So they
review.
know what's coming.
So they can see
Yep.
what's coming and have it set aside, not as an action item. But until we have all those approvals in place, whether, you know, if Susan needs to get to you, or Phil, or Graham, or whoever may need to do that, so that you have it, the vetting process is a little bit clearer.
Yep,
That'd be great.
that's all part of my little project.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Paula. Okay, the installation proposal, that's the one, that was the first one we got. That's shakes and shingles, okay. Fairgrounds, I'd like to hold off until Laurie gets here on that there. We can go on to new business. Charitable exemptions report information. There are several charitable we have a very good assessing company this year that's filling in all the loose ends that have fallen through the cracks.
Part of their work as they prepared the tax warrant was to go through all the exemptions, and they found several that hadn't even applied for several years or ever, and they cited the case law where those need to be taken off, and if it's found that they're eligible later on, they can be put back on, but they're off as of right now, the ones that they've listed. The only one that it might tag you, the Congregational Church was one, but it's not the church, it's just that little piece of land that they own across
the street,
Yeah.
the parking area.
It's that little triangle in the middle
by
of
Depot.
the,
Yeah,
it's the triangle in between
Right.
where the roads come together?
That's where they park, yeah.
Oh, they park
They
there.
park there on
there.
Sunday morning, yeah.
Qualify for that.
Right. The exemption, no, right.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the list of the ones that, I mean, we have to send them a letter notifying they don't have an exemption and they have to apply, correct?
right, so I have written letters for you to sign if you agree that this is,
Okay, and let me read the names to you. We have First Congregational Church, the Housing Support, Inc. on Main Street. Their main office is in Newburyport. The Kingston Veterans Club, Camp Tasker, because for property located on Renfrew Lane in West Shore Park. Ducks on the Pond Realty, and that's on Route 125. Gideon Lodge. Kingston Improvement and Historical Society. And that's it. Okay, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to, based on the assessor's recommendation on those, to authorize, it looks like it needs all of our signatures?
Yes, it does.
Authorize the board to sign those.
Is there a second? Is there discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Okay. Also in here to be signed is the, from Tammy, the tax collector's warrant and property tax levy for the tax bills in June. And she says, we've grown from 2023 to 2024 by $15,957,551. She said, keep in mind, we removed exemptions for properties that may go back on for final bill. they could reapply. Okay. Do I have a motion for us to sign that as well?
So moved.
In a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And since we're in the signature mode, we have the planning board, at the April 16th meeting of the planning board, the board voted to nominate Peter Coffin to continue in Kingston, as Kingston's representative on the Rockingham Planning Council Transportation Advisory Committee. The BOS appointment form is attached for your signature.
And I was explaining to Ellie earlier that this is a committee of the Planning Commission that specifically deals with transportation issues. And Peter Coffin has been serving in that role for a few years now, and he's willing to continue with it. And the process of appointing to anything relating to the Planning Commission is that the Planning Board recommends, and then we do the appointment. And so the Planning Board has made the recommendation to us. And so I will make a motion to reappoint Peter Coffin to the Technical Advisory, Transportation Advisory Committee of the Rockingham Planning Commission.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Oh, yeah, okay. Ayes have it. Motion passes. You have a human service monthly report. It's in your, should come in through in your packet. We just did the approval for Peter Coffin for RPC. Public comment number 2. Nothing here. No other correspondence. Approval of meeting minutes for May 6th. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 6th.
And a second?
And I believe that there were only public minutes, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yep.
Yep. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No, motion carries. The only other thing was we have one non-public session.
I just got a text from Lori saying she was about 10 minutes away.
What do we have on this? John, we talk about that?
Which one?
We haven't talked about it. I don't think so.
That just came, and it's for your information. I'll need to get some backup on it. That is, they think that right-of-way belongs to them, but it's already been removed from the tax rolls. So I'm not sure, I mean, this is from 2017 or 18. So I have to go back and see. I did research what happened at the time, our back and forth with our assessor at the time, and they removed it.
But doesn't it say that they're
They think,
tax on a piece of property there that Mr. Willett didn't think he owned? This attorney just did the title search and says he does own it, so it should be taxed,
right, but,
or continue to be.
so it has to be probably another, run by our current assessor.
Yes.
And possibly the attorney. I'll start with the assessor on Wednesday.
Okay, so no action at this time.
Right.
So you'll do that, Susan? That'll be your
Yeah.
action?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that we got it. So
Okay, all
that's-
right.
Was we supposed to do something with the Sanborn Seminar?
Well, that was what non-public was going to be on.
Yeah, we're going to do that in non-public.
Okay.
We can do some of the signing of stuff. Yes, please. While we're in sort of a lull right now, and hopefully Laurie will get here in time for us to do a non-public.
Take a break?
Or we could do that.
We could take a 10-minute break and sign papers.
Yep.
And hopefully she'll be here in 10 minutes.
Right.
She probably didn't realize the fact that the tunnel was closed completely.
Well, I think she was in, well,
It's,
I don't have to rather than Boston, maybe.
You want to go over that board business for the Human Services monthly report?
oh, we didn't, there was no, it's just it was just an item listed.
FYI.
FYI, exactly correct, because they always, Marissa always hands in the report, so.
the only thing that came up in that for Pedro today, he was flagged to check out the campground. So he's kind of working on that, and that came up in that report. But Lone Tree.
Oh, Lone
Lone
Tree.
Tree.
Yep. No.
No.
No. I don't think so.
The address would indicate it.
Oh, it is? They changed, did they change the name?
Well, they might have, because it's a different owner.
Okay. Well, there's a lot going on down there.
Yeah, if you look at the, if you look at this here, it's all on West Shore Park Road.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true, yeah.
okay,
And that's why I was curious
okay,
when we talked about campground.
yep.
Yeah.
So they'll get the same thing, they're no longer exempt, correct? That should generate a little discussion. Okay, I've got one more to sign and I pass it over to you.
Yeah, can you take us off here? You want to put us on pause there, Adam?
10 minutes, maybe? Give us time to wrap this up and stretch.
Okay. May 13th Board of Selectmen meeting, and joining us as our other member. Joining us tonight back from travels is Laurie Schwett, board member. Okay, you wanted to add a couple items for the committee reports?
Right.
Liaison.
Just quickly, the museum met on 7 May. They are moving forward with the Boston Post Cane Awards, so they've talked with a couple of other towns, and they're going to have criteria that they're going to bring to the board so that we can discuss, and then they're going to move forward with that. And they've been working with the town clerk in identifying.
Great.
Yeah. So that's working really well. On Saturday, I had the honor and privilege to be at the Veterans Club for the Honor Bear Project, where they laid the flag. So, I just spoke a few words on behalf of the select board, and they were very honored that somebody was there.
It looks great.
It was great. This is the second year, and they're going to do it every year.
Annually.
Yeah. So, so that was great. And then Ryan Mallon got his Eagle Scout.
Oh, good.
So I had the honor of presenting our certificate to him too. So that was really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing those.
Yeah. It was nice. It was
had a
nice.
busy day.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, a busy day.
Yeah, because it was the recycling
1, 2,
in the
3.
morning. So, yep.
Okay, the only other item before we go into non-public is a review of the fairgrounds, a recap on next steps, if any. Who would like to start? Any comments? Peter, Mr. Bakey? Oh, Glenn, okay.
Well,
You got paper.
well, I just wanted to make sure that the board knew just a little bit of background on the property and some action that we took by vote back in 1996. First of all, I verified that the property is not commercial. It's rural residential. So there are certain commercial uses that could happen there, but in all likelihood, if it wasn't going to be town property, it would be some sort of residential development. So there is that possibility still, if the town chose to go that way with it. It could also be a potential water source for the community because it's in the aquifer, and I'm not sure we've done any testing there to determine what the yield might be, but again, another possible. I mean, it's a sizable piece. It's 58 acres, I think.
Yes.
It's sizable, anyway. However, and I think I might have reached out to some of you after our meeting last week, that a concerned resident who was watching on TV heard us discussing this and pointed me to perhaps some old history on this that we might be interested in. And so in looking up town reports in 1996, I believe the vote took place in 95, and it got recorded in 96 town report. There were 3 articles, all of which passed by the town voters. And the first one that year was Article 28, which raised and appropriated $32,000 and change to purchase R20-16, which is the parcel for Kingston Fairgrounds, and to establish the Board of Selectmen and Recreation Commission as agents to expend. The amendments, blah, 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 okay. And Article 29 voted to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to develop recreation fields and facilities on the property known as the fairgrounds. And then Article 30, it was voted to amend that the land formerly at Kingston Fairgrounds be purchased in 1990, that was purchased in 1995 for the sole purpose of development of recreation facilities.
Quick question for you, Glenn.
Yep.
Who they purchase it from?
I don't know.
So Kingston, the town of Kingston, I believe if you research even farther back,
Yep.
that was bought from a foreclosure from a center out of Plasto, right?
Okay.
They went in there and they took all the gravel out of
There
there.
was a
They got it
gravel
down to
pit,
ledge and water and everything else. And I think it was like $110,000 way back then.
Okay.
That was a long, I mean, that was a long time ago. We're talking probably, I would say,
70s?
I was gonna say 70s, if not early 80s.
Yeah.
That was, and it's not any relation to the Central we know. It's another company. So I'm just curious who they bought that from in 95.
I'm sorry, I was trying to skim this quickly and not give you the long, let me read it again, because
You're confusing.
I know.
Sorry.
All right, so Article 28 voted to raise and appropriate $32,183 and to withdraw the amount from the Capital Reserve Fund established in 1984 for the purpose of developing recreational fields and a playground on the property identified as R20-16, formerly known as Kingston Fairgrounds, and to establish the Board of Selectmen and Recreation Commission's agents to expend. So the $32,183 was to develop.
Build that park.
To build the park.
To build the park.
Yeah, not to buy the land.
Correct.
They already own the land, as you said.
So my question would be is on that $32,000, I'm just trying to figure this all out. Was that just that parcel of the lot, or all like part of the dog park part of it? Was all that part of it? I'm just kind of curious.
I think the dog park came later.
It came later.
I do
not know.
think
That's
so
why I'm
too.
asking.
It did come later. It was not part of that.
And when was Como Field built out?
That's what I'm thinking. That 96.
That was part of that part?
That's what I'm thinking. That 32,000 was to build that field and that park and the ball field and everything.
Yeah.
That's probably what that 32,000 was for.
Okay.
To build that park. That's why I was curious. Sorry.
I'm sorry to have thrown you off track. Like I said, I was just trying to do it quickly, and I shouldn't have done that.
It's okay, we're good.
So I guess my point is that, as we're thinking about the property and perhaps what to do with it and so forth and so on, there was some direction voted on by the town about what to do with it. So if we were to think about doing something different, we'd probably be going back to the voters, I would assume.
Right.
To make it so it's
To
something beyond.
If we're going to do something other than this.
Recreational.
Right.
Fields. That's real, they're very specific in there. Yep. Recreation fields. Right.
So I guess that was the only point, is that, if we were going to do something other than what was voted in 96, we'd just be going back to the voters.
Correct.
With whatever the plan is.
Right.
My only personal, I hate to say that word personal, because it's not personal. This board is here to work in the town's best interest. But my thought was, the reason that was moved back down there from when it used to be on the plains, and this was speaking to, obviously, back in the day when they had a lot of issues down here. This is when it was a full-fledged carnival. It was a little different than what we have now. And some of these residences around the common had problems with things happening on their properties. So they moved it from the center of town and they moved it down there because it was a nice little isolated location. Right. But now we have Folleybrook. So it's almost like we took it from some certain town residents to protect their rights and privacy and entities, and now we're going to dump it on somebody else's private rights, entities. So I just kind of don't get that part of it. I mean, I'm not saying nothing can be done with the property. I kind of like your water idea, because we already own the property, right? But, and I guess I'm in agreement that it would probably have to go back to the voters and let them make that decision. That's my personal thought, my thought on that, thinking for the town residents.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that if it's going to be other than recreational fields, if you will, that it's got to go back to the voters. It's just a question of what it's going to be and what we might propose it to be.
So the other question is, do we want to do we want to continue with the committee and continue looking into it, et cetera, or just because of the amount of people and the impact that we had with it, to just leave it as it is for now? That's up to whoever the study committee is, but it doesn't, it's kind of seems to be that there's not, other than just, can't think of the word, but, craft fairs and that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's the simple end, or if the committee's going to go back and look at it again and come up with, not worrying about carnivals, but, maybe craft fairs or food truck vendor day or whatever might come up. I don't know, how much more time do we want to spend?
Well, it was only a 6-month study group, and I think we listed out 20 different things, and a music event was only one of the 20. Like, most of them were flea market, fairs, food vendor, that kind of stuff. lower impact events, not to move things off of the plains and not have events on the plains, but to share the wealth, if you will, to make sure that the plains don't get overused. So I can only speak for me and what we did on the study group. I don't know how much more we would be able to do. I mean, we came up with what we came up with, so I think our recommendation was to see if we want to continue moving forward to then start marketing, that kind of thing, right? Because right now, we're just, it's up to the board to decide what we do with the land. Do we move forward with then promoting it, or trying to get a craft fair there, you know? Because Phil can't do stuff with the land unless we say we're gonna move forward with it. He'll leave it as is.
I think the concept is a great idea. Your food vendors, your fairs, community involvement, ideas, but I think we could go back and, like we do any other entity in this town, we could regulate what goes on down there. I mean, most of our public that showed up and voiced their opinion was worried about concerts, okay? I mean, I live through all that stuff, I know all about it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and we could basically say that's not gonna happen down there. I mean, there's a difference between,
ukuleles and Ozzy Osbourne.
There you go, there's a big difference, and I hate to say it, but it's common sense, right?
One extreme to the other.
And I mean, so we're working with the people in the town. I mean, this is an interest that we think would be a good idea to make some money in this town, but I think we can definitely, as Glenn said, it has to go back to the voters, but I think we could limit the activities that goes on down there.
Yeah, I am in favor of leaving it as is, to be honest with you. I see it as the future site of a water distribution system for the town. We're going to get there. It may be another 20 years before that happens, but I'd like to see us, we know there's water there, it's easily accessible, it'll help both the town, and it may be a better source of revenue. If we go into events, we really need a group that's going to be focused on developing it. You got to promote it, you got to price it, you got to manage it, you got to staff it, you got to clean it up and bring it down. And
absolutely, all of that stuff.
All of that stuff has to happen, and not being able to have Kingston days because we didn't have enough people, the right mix of people to lead the charge, concerns me in trying to promote another section of land in town. The plains, we have the June, we have maybe something in August and in the fall, and even if there were one or two more, it would not constitute overuse of the field, of the plains. The amount of money generated from these events, it might be $10,000 to the town, not in the case of the fire department, but it ancillarily benefits the town. But if we're going to have a craft fair or a food truck day at the fairgrounds, for example, maybe we'd get $10,000, but is it worth all the work that's going to go into it? I would rather see some of that energy from the idea, and there were some fabulous ideas, and maybe I'd rather see a farmer's market. We used to have one, and it would be nice if once or twice a month we had one again for the summer. I don't think it would overtax the plains. Yeah, it would be worn out in some areas, but it wouldn't be like you'd have to replace the entire plains. And part of the reason we have such a beautiful area is to use it, so.
Also, with that same note, Ellie, when you're talking about the water source, it's a great idea, but I think maybe we should, I hate to say this, but we should probably get down there and take a look what's down there. Because some of that stuff probably needs to be cleaned up.
What do you mean? Because we've been down there. What do you mean? So there's a stockpile there that Public Works uses, and there's some old, that needs to stay there. And then there's old playground equipment that Phil plans on cleaning up. But other than that, there's...
So what doesn't he plan to clean up?
The stockpile stuff will stay.
Okay.
That's asphalt and where they do loam and do stuff for the town, so that stuff will stay.
Yeah.
But then when they replace some of the old equipment at the Stepping Stones playground, That's still sitting there, so he does have to get rid of that.
Okay.
But other than that, he wasn't gonna touch it. If we're not moving forward, he's gonna clean up that debris.
Yep.
And then we're just gonna leave it as is and continue to use it as the town needs to for the stockpile material, the asphalt and the loam and things like that.
So I gather that we recommend that to not pursue development at this time other than for recreation fields through the Recreation Commission. If Paul thought of something else he might want to use it for down there, other than going to the voters. Am I correct in that assessment?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I definitely would thank the committee, the group that worked on this. I mean, you put a lot of time into it. And I definitely appreciate that kind of effort, for sure.
You know, it's not to say that at some point between now and the time that warrant article season comes up, I mean, if someone, you know, if the board wants to bring this back up for discussion, and we did promise the folks who were here that night that if we were going to discuss it further, we'd put it as an agenda item so that they would know about it. And I want to make sure that we do that if we're going to continue discussing it.
And it's on this agenda too, but no one.
Yeah, I understood.
Right, right.
But I mean, if we think that we're going to
take action on something.
Yeah.
Yes.
We want to make sure it's an agenda item.
I would agree.
I mean, at this point, my inclination is to just let it rest and use it as it was voted on and as it is being used now. But, you know, in the next couple of months, I mean, you know, maybe someone will have a brainstorm and think, well, you know, maybe we could be doing
something else.
Yeah, yeah. And so I sort of like to reserve the thought and reserve the opportunity to discuss it again if we decide to.
Excellent. Anything else to come before us other than going into non-public? Okay, I'll have a motion for non-public session under RSA 91A:32C. Thank you.
C and D.
C and D.
And I'll make that motion.
Okay. And poll the board. Peter?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
I say yes.
Yes.
Glenn says yes, and thanks. Okay, over and out there, Mr. Adam.